and then usually it's nothing. But in this case, it was death, and that's unfortunate. This is the Austin Matt Podcast. This is Austin.
This is Matt.
And this week we watched Memories of Murder, not Memory of Murder or whatever.
Have you noticed that like the last few weeks, what I name our doc, I name something like vaguely familiar to the title of the actual movie, just for fun.
Yeah, it's like each one of our docs is like our kids, and you're just misnaming them on purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like when my wife yells for our kids, she'd be like, "Hey, am I?" Just throwing the names together. Okay, I have a real question.
Yep.
Because you have twins, do you or your wife ever like get them mixed up?
Not in like I genuinely like, I don't know, because I grew up as an identical twin where like my parents would genuinely just think that I was my twin. Never that, but like a lot of the times where it's like someone's standing next to me and I can only see him from the corner of my eye and I think it's the other one and I call him that and then I look and I'm like, oh, sorry, I see which one you are. I'm like, yes, that definitely happens all the time.
Okay. So I saw a video of triplets where they're all identical, one up in you with your identical twin.
I know.
So the parents don't mix them up and call them a different name for the rest of their lives. They got nail polish and they painted their big toenail on one of their feet a different color. So there's my
mom did that when my twin and I were born. She said she could always tell the difference, but she did it just in case. And she also had a system where I think I would always be put in blue if she had something blue, and my brother would always be put in something red if she had red. And she would always give one of us to my big brother and one of us to my big sister. And she kind of kept that the same, and that was like her system to kind of know the difference quickly for like the first several years of our life.
Okay. I see the blue is still a thing today. Just always
I guess. Yeah.
On Twin Day, do you wear like split shirts where it's like one side's blue, one side's red?
I wish. That could be a good freaking Twin Day shirt. No, we've had different cooler designs in the past.
Okay, cool. Anyways, got quickly derailed there. Matt, what else did you watch this week?
I watched Deadpool 1 and 2.
First time?
It's an interesting revisit. I don't think...
Oh, okay.
It's weird. Like, I watched both of them and I was like, they're okay. And I don't think I really loved them in the first place. I think had I been able to, like, get on the Deadpool train right as it first came out and watched it right as it first came out, I think I would have liked it a lot more. But I kind of came in late to the game on both of them. They both have, like, really awesome, hilarious things about them. The X-Force gag in Deadpool 2 is great. The fight between Colossus and Juggernaut in 2 is great. There's so many things to love about them, but as a whole, they're just kind of okay for me. I'm also revisiting Stranger Things. I saw the new trailer for the newest season this last week. Don't watch it. It gave away. I got the feeling it gave away way more than I would have liked to have seen given away. So I just started watching because I was like, well, I mean, it's going to be coming out like mid-May. I could probably just get started now and be really close to getting it finished right as the new season comes out so I can be all refreshed. It's still good. I don't think I've watched the first season since it came out like 5 years ago. And so it's bringing me right back to 5 years ago where it's like, I remember exactly where I was working. I guess it was more like 6 years ago. I remember where I was working. I remember who I was talking with about this show when it first came out. But it's good. It really does hold up. I think Stranger Things is a show that kind of thrives on the cliffhanger and the shock of new information. And now I kind of know all that information, so it's not quite as like compelling, but it's still good. So I'm enjoying it. And also, just a handful of hours ago, I saw Sonic 2, which was... Here's my theory on it. I think that Sonic 2 is probably just as much fun as the first one, but I enjoyed the first one more because I was not expecting much from it. So how good it was and how fun it was such a huge surprise to me and broke my expectations so much that I enjoyed it a lot. So I think I was kind of expecting something as much as I enjoyed the first one, and it was just okay. There's this whole B plot where there's like these wedding things going on, and I was like, that was easily the worst part of the movie, where it was just like, what why is this even a thing? I mean, I think I kind of remember this character from the first movie, but she wasn't like a huge character, but maybe she was. I don't know. But that was easily the weakest part of the movie. But other than that, it was great. There's a moment in the end where I definitely like had some real emotions and got really genuinely excited. And my kid got really excited. I think it's the first time we're seeing how excited my kid got. I got way excited. There's a post-credit scene with a big reveal that I knew my kid would be excited about, and I got so excited about it, I like tried to lightly elbow him, like, look, and I elbowed him a little bit too hard, and so instead of getting excited about the reveal, he was like, oh, and I felt really bad. You know me. Anyway, sorry. What did you watch this week, Austin?
Well, not a couple hours ago, but on Friday I went and watched Sonic 2. Impromptu, took my kids to it while I was alone with them for the weekend while my wife was in Vegas for her BTS concert. She had a great time, by the way, in case you're wondering. But kind of similar to you, where like I wasn't putting a whole lot of stock into Sonic. Like anything they've done Sonic past like Sonic 3 was awful. Actually, Adventure Battle 2 was like super awesome. But like Sonic Legends, Generations, like all that was just
There was a Sonic racing game that I used to play.
Sonic
that
Racers.
I thought was actually kind of fun.
The first one was okay. The first one was kind of fun. I'll give you that. I had that game too. But I didn't have any real expectations for the first one. Detective Pikachu came out earlier that year, and like everyone was super excited about that. And then like there was the bad trailer for Sonic, and it's like, well, this is obviously like the biggest shit show that's going to be. But no, yeah, they definitely went through. They changed a lot of things, and they had a lot of fun with it. So it was great. Sonic 2 came out, and similar to the first one, I didn't watch anything about it. Just kind of stuck away, and really, it's like I think you called it out very well. The whole wedding stuff that was going on, I did not care about at all. Had that not even been there, like if this was just purely a Sonic movie, and like the couple was just in Hawaii the whole time, would have been totally fine with it. Didn't care too much.
And huge portions of the movie was just like Sonic and Tails and Knuckles animated. Like it just felt like an animated movie. Like take out a handful of those non-animated scenes and characters, and it would have just been like a fun, like purely animated movie.
Yeah, I mean minus Jim Carrey.
Yeah, who really he dialed it up again this time, and he was plenty of fun. Yeah.
But for the times that they were actually going through the adventures, they do so many homages to like the original game too, like even to like the name of the city they're in, like Green Hill. They're trying to do as much as they possibly can for the fans of Sonic. That when they're actually doing those things, like that's really fun. But it's when they're not doing those things that it's I'm definitely a little tuned out. I would say the only exception to that would be when they ended up into like the one bar or whatever that was. Like that started out stupid, and then like it kind of got a little fun, and then I got like a little like over the fun, and then I got really, really touching and like really personal. So it's like, okay, we just experienced a lot of emotions in like 2 minutes, but that's totally fine.
Was there, and maybe you can help me with this. Was I missing something with their outfits when they were all like in the coats and the scarves? They looked kind of familiar that way. Was there something I was missing there? Like, is that a throwback to something or no?
It probably is, but I didn't catch it at all.
Also, did you? So the very first shot of the movie shows a red, white spotted mushroom, and I felt like that was like maybe a very intentional like little nod to Mario at the very beginning of the movie. Did you feel that way? Did you see that and think that?
So the very first wait, hold on. Sonic 2, I want to say it is. The first level, it's Mushroom Zone?
Yes, I do remember Mushroom. No, I remember the Mushroom Zone in Sonic and Knuckles as well.
Oh yeah. But no, they have red mushrooms with white spots on them. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the exact name of the mushroom. It is an actual mushroom. And it's referenced in like other like Japanese culture stuff too. So
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
But I mean, to your point though, that was very like Mario-y.
Yeah.
Like red and white. But for me, I thought it was fine. I love that they went big at the very ends with Eggman getting like the giant suit. They're on the bridge. They're working together. Only thing like that they were short of was like jumping on top of its head 3 times to like end the boss battle. That's something that was really missing there. But as you also called it out, like Jim Carrey, like he was incredibly weird, incredible, like all over the place. I found out that he ended up ad-libbing like 90% of his lines for the movie too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they're just like, whatever, that works out for me.
It's Jim Carrey. Let him do what he wants.
Now, a lot of people are really upset with the dialogue of Knuckles for Idris Elba because they're like, they made him really stupid and like really blockheaded and like noble to what's going on. And if I was to put a voice on Knuckles, I imagine that's exactly how he would act in that case. And I felt it was totally fine and on point. It's like, like if somebody's only ever known war and revenge, like you expect them to be like eloquent. No, probably not. But the supersonic though, I'm super happy that they went all on board for that too. Like,
and I guess so. I read there was some talks of having him do that in the first movie, and they decided not to. And I think that's actually a super smart move. I think it really worked. Honestly, I would have like had they had like the balls to not have him do it in this movie, and kind of like we all knew that's what was going to happen in the third movie. I actually would have really respected that. But when it all came down to it, I was like, okay, cool. And that's the thing my kid got really excited about. Where I was like, okay, this was fun. This was it's coming. I knew it was coming. I knew pretty much what it was going to look like, but I still got like super into it. So I enjoyed that. That was good.
There's also a lot of speculation and rumors on because Jim Carrey just recently announced that he's retiring from acting. So a lot of people are like, well, is he gonna do the next Sonic? Now, if you don't know the history behind it, Shadow was created by Robotnik's grandfather. He did all of that, and like that's where all that is, and that's pretty much the story of Sonic Adventure 2. Is like that whole plot line, and it's like you can't do that without Robotnik though. It doesn't work out. So my hope is that he does return. He's been trying so hard to get into a fat suit. I don't know if you caught like the little like homage to it while he's like choosing out the outfits. Jim Carrey really wants to be in a fat suit, so it's like I think the only way they're gonna get him back in the third movie is they have to like respect his wish of him being fat. But cool, let's go ahead and let's talk about our big movie this week, which is Memories of Murder. Let me go ahead and pull up the quick little synopsis here. In a small Korean province in 1986, two detectives struggled in the case of multiple young women being found raped and murdered by an unknown culprit. Now, Matt, what did you like about this movie?
Let me also preface this with of the Bong Joon-ho movies I've seen, this is one of the lesser ones for sure. I think Parasite and Snowpiercer are both like far and beyond better movies. That being said, though, this was really I liked it a lot. I definitely felt like this was Bong Joon-ho doing a little bit of Fincher, doing a little bit of Seven, doing a little bit of Zodiac, even though I think Zodiac actually came out after Memories of Murder. And interestingly, Zodiac is different in the ways. Say what?
I said, which one? Because this is the one with Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about.
I think that came out
another Zodiac movie. I'm not even aware of it. So
I want to say that one was like 06 actually, but I could be wrong. Anyways, go ahead. You have like the weird like memory where you just have like dates and movies figured out and plotted. It's weird.
So I definitely got that kind of a feeling. It was interesting how, I don't know if you noticed, like the very first scene of the movie is like vibrant and beautiful, and I actually got super excited. I was like, dude, if this whole movie looks like this, it's gonna be awesome. And then suddenly it switches to like the murder, and everything is very like gray and muted and dark, that's when I started getting those David Fincher 7 vibes. So I enjoyed that a lot. And just seeing a Bong Joon-ho movie, it was just like, man, I'm glad that I'm finally watching this. I'm glad to see him doing something else that he's done that's really, really cool, because he does such cool things. That ending, man. I'm not gonna talk about it directly, because I know you're probably gonna mention it. Let's see. Did you put that there?
I have something in there. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about it then. But the ending, when I first saw it, I was like, what? Stupid. And then when and I'll say this, when I read about it, I was like, oh, okay, that's actually a cool ending. I'm super into that ending. So, anyway, that's kind of all I've got for that. Austin. Oh, actually, let me mention one more thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Brick? Rian Johnson's first movie.
Hold up.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's in high school. It's a detective mystery kind of story.
Doesn't look familiar. Tell me about it.
It's probably one of my favorite movies. It was
Wow.
Rian Johnson who directed. After Brick, he did Brothers Bloom. He did Looper. He did Star Wars: The Last Jedi. He did Knives Out. I feel like there might be one more in there that I'm missing. Fantastic director. But Brick was his first movie. Blew me away. I saw it when it first came out, like 2006. Loved it. But there was a shot from Brick that is like straight up taken 100% from Memories of Murder. Like not in like a I stole it kind of way, but just very much like an homage. So seeing that shot in here, I was like, whoa, wait, what? That looks 100% familiar. And I looked it up, and I think people have said, and maybe even Rian Johnson has said, yes, I was definitely paying some homage to Memories of Murder. So that was really cool. But anyway, sorry, Austin, what did you like about it?
Let's first talk about the most satisfying part of the movie, which is dude gets stabbed in the leg, and you're like, suck that, dude. That's what you get for being an asshole and kicking everybody. And then he loses his leg, and you're like, can't kick people in the face with a sock on it anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of poetic justice there that I completely missed out on.
Yeah, he lost his left leg, and then after that moment, they're back in the office. They're like, we don't know what to do. And then the one guy looks over at the boots, and the one that has the sock on it is the one that he lost. Oof, that's rough. But yeah, I did not care for that guy. He was an asshole. Glad he got it. But then the dissatisfaction of the rest of stuff. What I love most about this movie is that it really puts you into that scenario, that case where it's like you don't get them all. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating that you don't, and anything looks like a clue, and it could be coincidence, it could not. I loved the that they were on the trail for the song the most. Mm-hmm. But that seems to be the biggest coincidence of it all. Yeah. Where the killer just likes to go out and kill people while it's raining. And then some guy just likes to hear a song every time that it's raining. Yeah. And it's
let me jump into this movie, dude. So a few days before I watched this movie, my wife and I were talking, and she mentioned murder mystery movies. And my kid was like, what's murder mystery movies? And my wife's like, oh, it's a movie that someone's there's a murderer and they've killed someone, and they're figuring out who the murderer is. And I was like, there's not always. There's probably some movie out there where they never figure out who it is. And then 3 days later, I watched this movie, and I was like, yeah, I just watched the movie that we talked about without knowing it. But yeah, that was funny. You looked a little horrified. Are you horrified that my kid was asking about murder mysteries?
A little bit. Now, my kids, they don't understand murder and death and things like that. They've I wouldn't say they've experienced it in some form and some sort of media, but they don't know. Yeah. And I feel I don't know if you can recall it, but that first actualization of death and murder, it's frightening a little bit.
Oh yeah. I still do. I can think about kids movies where someone died And lots of times it was even someone who like they kind of had it coming, and that's what happens in movies. And me being kind of like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like I even remember I remember watching Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, on TV when I was probably way older than being like disturbed about this. But so I watched some dude get eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it wasn't a bad guy who deserved it. It wasn't even like a character who'd been in the movie. It was just some dude. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, like that guy just died, and like they didn't try and justify it. Like the Tyrannosaurus Rex just ate a dude for like no reason, and feeling a little mortified by that, even at like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah. So I thought it was gonna be like a case like that where like he had like an explanation of like murder and death and things. And I was like, dude, that's like way too young for that.
I think we probably sugarcoated it.
Okay.
I'm sure we did, but
nice. One thing that I really appreciate about this movie too is that although we never find out who it is, there's a lot of tension behind the killings. Now, like, I loved the creepiness of some of them. My favorite one of calling them out is when the girl's walking through the fields, and then she's singing the song, and then she hears the whistle in the back. Like, if I was in that scenario, like chills instantly down my spine, my heart would stop. I would be freaking out a little bit, but I'd also probably be like what she was doing in that case where it's like I'm looking around, it's like, did I just imagine that? Like, is that me? Yeah. And then like it's like, well, no, it couldn't have been. And then the prep and the run, and like there's been plenty of times when I was a kid where it's like I thought like a car was like following me, and I'd be on my longboard, and I'm like, I'm pushing for my life because it's like this car is going to like kidnap me or like steal my longboard, or, like do these things, and it's like you just feel like your heart in your throat, and you're just and then usually it's nothing, but in this case it was death, and that's unfortunate. My question to you is, did you go and did you pause on like when the killer like jumped out to like get the girl?
No. Well, so let me ask you a question real quick. You did see his head kind of pop up, right? And then go back down.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, and it was because I almost did, and I thought, you know what? If I was seeing this, and I wanted the mystery to be retained, and I thought if I was seeing this movie in the theater, I wouldn't have the ability to just like rewind and go examine his face and decide who it was and get, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going. I'm not gonna try and spoil anything for myself. Did you rewind and pause?
So I did not when I was watching the movie, because like you, I was like, ooh, like they're right there. But I finished the movie, and after kind of like we didn't get the satisfaction at the end, I was like, I wonder if like it was somebody who was just like casually around. I went back and I paused it on the dude's face, and I was like, I have no clue who this guy is. Like, I did not recall him at all in the movie. And that was even more to the point where it's like, I even checked like the cast to see if anybody was like casted as like the killer. No, nobody's casted as like the killer. It's just like some dude. It's probably an extra, if I'm gonna be super honest. Like, just, hey man, just jump out of the camera here. So it's great. It's great. But the last thing that I just want to mention is although there was a lack of satisfaction at the end and kind of like the tension that they put on things, I love that they did a time skip at the end to really put it into place that this story wasn't about the killings and finding a killer. The story was more about how do detectives deal with situations like this. And that story arc or character development of somebody who came in and was upset about how these people were handling this case, calling them idiots, saying we need to find this. He was much smarter than them, to at the end on the brink of trying to kill somebody. That's how frustrated he was with this case. And for me, like, that's what sticks with me more, is it's not about who killed somebody, it's about what they did for those who were still living. And I was like, whoa. But with that, Matt, what did you not like about this movie?
Number one, and I know this was the point, those are some freaking shitty cops. Holy cow.
Super shitty.
And I think that's, and you kind of, to your point that you just made too, like the guy who came in who was really good, who was like, I want to find this guy, and I'm not just gonna like torture someone into a confession and say I wash my hands of this. Like I want to find out who it really is. He even kind of like gets to that point where it's like he kind of goes into that realm of just like, I've made up my mind, it's him, and I'm gonna kill him, you know. And there was that role reversal too, where the guy who had been the worst cop of them all stopped him from killing him. He's like, look, like it's not him. Like if you want to get him, that's not him, and killing him's not gonna help you. But man, that was just, and I know that like I'm willing to bet in 1986 or whatever year it was in Korea, that may have been like a pretty common thing where it's like, hey, we found someone who might be him. Let's hang him upside down by his feet until he just says that he did it, you know? Like, and then the US even has a history of that. I don't know about 1986, but John Oliver just barely had a news story on police interrogations like yesterday. And he was talking about how like there was a point where like physically harming people to get confessions was like a totally acceptable thing in the US. Again, I don't know about 1986, but so watching that, I was just like, and not even that, like they weren't just bad cops in their willingness to torture people. They were just bad cops in like making these really broad assumptions. Like absolutely like, here's a dude who's out in the wilderness in women's underwear touching himself, like, and has like, and it's like, yeah, that's definitely like a weird thing. I feel like if I was a cop, I'd be like, that doesn't mean he's the killer. I'm gonna look into this a little bit better before I start hanging upside down and coercing him into a confession. So like they annoyed me so bad, and I know that was the point, and I know like it was like, yeah, cops were terrible and this doesn't do anything good, but also it was just hard to watch. I was so annoyed with them. Also, you kind of mentioned that guy's leg. The melodrama surrounding his leg, I was just like, I do not care. Like when he looks at his friend and he's like, oh, like I'm sad he's losing his leg, and I'm like, I don't give a damn about that guy's leg. That guy sucks. So like that kind of got on my nerves. That whole scene just like messed with the pacing of the movie. And I mentioned it before too. My dislike is that it was beautiful for like 1 second. It's like the opening scene is like, oh my gosh, like these like really like deep colors, and he's just out in that field and the blue sky, and I was like, wow. And then it was like, oh, also everything's gonna be almost black and white after this. So it was.
Did you notice that the color comes back though at the end?
Say that again.
The color comes back at the end.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and it's funny too because he went from being a really crappy cop to like being in another crappy job. It seemed like selling some crappy product. Yeah, like he just kind of sucked as a person. But that ending though, we didn't even end up really talking about the ending. So when he looked at the camera, I was like, okay, that was weird. But then when I read like, oh no, these were based on like real killings. This is how it's very similar to Zodiac, where it's like, yeah, this is like totally 100% real. And unlike the Zodiac, because if you've seen Zodiac, have you seen Zodiac?
Yeah.
It very much ends in that way where it's like, hey, technically we never found this guy. Also though, it was almost definitely this guy. Like that is kind of the end note of Zodiac, is like, don't let anybody tell you that the Zodiac is still out there. The Zodiac was maybe not caught, but he was in jail, and he was almost positively identified as the Zodiac killer, you know? This movie, it was like, no, it did not make any kind of like assumptions. It was like, no, guys, like this guy's definitely still out there, to the point that we're going to make a movie where the ending shot is him looking in the screen, hoping that he might be looking at the actual murderer, which I think you mentioned, and you said that the murderer has talked about this, right?
Yeah. So it's a half truth. So he confessed to the murders in 2019
after being mercilessly beaten. So I don't know. Just kidding.
But due to privacy laws of South Korea, like his name can't be pretty much, you don't know what his name is. However, they are able to share that of the ones that, so he confessed to over 20, I want to say it was 20 killings. He was arrested in 2019, not 2019, in 1994 for a very similar murder and rape situation.
Oh, okay.
So, like the whole ending scene though, where it's like he just kind of looked like somebody else, like that couldn't have happened in 2003. But at that time, they had no clue who it was until he confessed to it, and it's like 20 years later. So
there is no record of him actually seeing the movie, is what you're saying.
So he has seen the movie.
Oh, he has seen it. Okay.
Yeah. So
and what did he say his reaction was?
He didn't really have a reaction. He was like, nah. He in the
sounds about right for a sociopath.
In the interview that I read about it, is that he was actually surprised that he got away with the murders for as long as he did. Like the fact that they couldn't identify him or follow him until he confessed to it in 2019 was a little mind-blowing. He's like, I wasn't doing anything weird. I was just going out at night. I was finding these people, and I was killing them. And
I'm not surprised. Freaking police work in comparison from like 1986 to 2019. I mean,
it's like, where were you? It's like, I was sleeping, and it's like, no, you weren't. You were killing somebody.
I love, there's that John Mulaney joke where he's like, can you imagine being a cop before DNA testing was a thing? Like, imagine a detective walking into a room and they said, hey, we found a pool of the killer's blood in the hallway. Huh. Gross. Now back to my hunch. Ooh, I know. We'll outline the body in chalk so we know how they were laying. Like one of my favorite John Mulaney bits. Anyway, what did you dislike?
Yeah, so I almost called you when I was 15 minutes into this movie. Like, hey man, I'm actually not cool with what's happening in this movie. We might want to pick a different one. And
like you were gonna like turn the movie off and not even finish it.
Oh yeah, I was pissed off with like how they were treating the mentally ill kid.
Oh, like, yeah, dude, that was. Oh man, oh you're right. I'm sorry. That was rough. That was horrible.
I was like pissed. I was like, that's not cool. That's not okay. Yeah. Like the second that like they mentioned him or like what was going on, I was like, this is not gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then like I thought it was over. I thought it was gonna be fine.
Oh.
And then he gets run over by a train, and I was like, fuck this movie.
Yeah, dude, that was messed up, dude. And it is, and like when he gets hit, it's like, this is all because they're just terrible cops. Like they have made nothing but terrible choices this entire time. And now a totally innocent dude just got hit by a train. It was rough.
Yeah. So what that adds to the element of like the type of shittiness that they were. The funny shitty thing that they did was he bought him new shoes because the other ones stunk, and they were nice shoes, not Nikes.
Yeah.
NICE. Oh, I was like, man, come on. I felt like the cop in that case. It's like, if you're gonna buy him new shoes, like buy him actual shoes.
Yeah.
But going down to we mentioned it a couple times, but it's like interrogating somebody until they give a confession. The one dude who's pretty much being like held upside down, not allowed to sit. Every time that he's doing the confession, he's like, yeah, like that's how I would do it in like a dream. And like they're getting pissed off that he keeps mentioning everything in a dream, but it's like, dude, like I didn't do this, but like I can imagine this happening in a dream. But it makes me feel better that because they were such shitty people, they never got to find out who it was or the face or that situation. But like,
and it was kind of their fault.
Yeah. But that's how it goes. Sometimes you got to be nice to people. But all in all, I can look past that a little bit, knowing that it's a movie. I don't know what the actual circumstances around that were, but it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
Would you watch the movie again?
No, but if there was someone who told me they really liked Bong Joon-ho, I would be like, definitely go give this a watch. Like if you want to get into his library, this is one that's, because it looks like he directed some stuff before that, like even some feature-length stuff, but I don't think he really got any attention, at least in the US, until The Host. The Host was the first big one that I remember hearing about. Yes, because he did Mother after The Host, and I remember the Mother was also a kind of a big deal.